Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at a concept that is quite literally a divine blueprint, one that fundamentally shaped our modern world, our ethics, and, well, how we view ourselves. It's an idea that echoes through history, and whether you realize it or not, it probably shapes the way you interact with people every single day. Okay, let's dive into this.
Where did the idea that all human beings are created equal actually come from? It's a foundational question, isn't it? I mean, we take it for granted today. We write it into constitutions and human rights declarations like it's totally obvious. But this idea of inherent human equality, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. To find its origins, we actually have to trace it back thousands of years to a radically disruptive ancient text that completely upended how humanity understood its own value.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it contrasts with the ancient Near Eastern world. Back then, being the image of God was the ultimate VIP status. It was strictly reserved for kings and rulers who supposedly embodied the deity's presence and authority on earth. Everyone else, essentially just pawns. But the book of Genesis does something unprecedented. It completely flips the script. It boldly declares that every single human being, regardless of their status, wealth, or power, inherently bears this divine image.
And that brings us to our core term for today, Imago Dei. It's simply the Latin translation for image of God. But as the source material points out, it is one of the most consequential concepts in theological anthropology. It's not just some abstract academic idea, it is the absolute bedrock for understanding human identity, how we form our ethics, and how we manage our relationships. So, keeping that foundational definition in mind, let's look at what this actually means in practice.
Section 1. A radical democratic blueprint, the origin of universal dignity.
By taking a status that was historically reserved only for ancient kings and applying it to the everyday person, this text established universal human worth. According to the commentary, this massive democratization stands as the absolute foundation for three pillars we still lean on today. First up, the sanctity of human life. This basically means every person has intrinsic value purely because they represent the Creator, not because of what they produce or what they achieve. Second, absolute human equality. Before God, all people stand on totally equal footing, which completely dismantles human hierarchies of worth. And third, moral accountability. This one is huge. Because we are uniquely created in His likeness, we are directly and morally accountable to God for how we treat our fellow image bearers. You literally can't separate how you treat others from how you honor this blueprint. Let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds. The 3D human, a holistic identity framework.
You see, the Imago Dei isn't just about our value, it's also about our actual makeup. Historically, theologians have debated what exactly constitutes this image, but rather than picking one narrow trait, the text reveals this beautifully complex framework. The source material breaks our identity down into three comprehensive orientations. First is the substantive view. This focuses on our unique capacities. Things like our rationality, our moral conscience, our creativity, and our spiritual self-awareness. It's essentially what we are. Second is the functional view, which looks at our responsibilities. We're commissioned to act as representatives, exercising wise stewardship over the world. It's what we do. And third is the relational view. This means we are hardwired for deep connection, both with God and with other people. To truly be an image bearer is to live out all three of these realities simultaneously.
Diving a little deeper into that relational aspect, the source material specifically highlights the co-creation of male and female. And this isn't just some biological footnote. It illustrates that human beings are fundamentally built for deep connection. We find our true identity in community, which beautifully reflects the highly relational nature of the Creator Himself. We were simply never meant to operate in isolation.
Section 3. The priestly gardener, reframing ecological stewardship.
So, how does this blueprint apply to the Earth itself? Well, you've probably heard the word dominion used when talking about humanity's role on Earth. For a long time, this Royal Commission has been heavily misunderstood as a blank check, like a license for environmental exploitation. But the commentary is crystal clear here. Dominion is not domination. It was never meant to be a tyrannical rule over nature.
And this brilliantly illustrates what dominion actually means. The original mandate given to humanity to work and keep the garden uses the Hebrew verbs abad and shamar. What's absolutely fascinating is that later in the biblical text, these exact same words are reserved for priestly service and for guarding the sacred tabernacle sanctuary. This linguistic twist reveals that our relationship to the environment is actually a delegated, highly accountable priestly vocation. We are meant to tend to the earth like a sacred space.
I know what you might be thinking. Okay, this all sounds like a beautiful, perfect blueprint.
But if we hold the divine image, if we have this incredible capacity for love, stewardship, and community, why is the world so incredibly fractured? Why is the news constantly full of pain, inequality, and destruction?
Section 4. The Warped Mirror. Diagnosing a Broken World.
To answer why the world is so fractured, the source text introduces the historical concept of the fall. The blueprint was severely damaged, but, and this is a really key point, it was not obliterated. Think of it kind of like a reflection in a funhouse mirror. The image became deformed. Our unique human capacities, our reason, our creativity, our desire for relationship, they remain intact. But instead of being naturally turned outward towards the love of God and neighbor, human nature tragically turned inward, warping into self-love and selfishness.
So, the crucial point is that the text uses this to diagnose the inner tension of modern human nature that we all experience, both out in society and right within ourselves. Because we are still image bearers, we remain capable of breathtaking goodness, incredible charity, and brilliant creativity. Yet, at the exact same time, because the image is deformed, we're prone to deep selfishness, relational alienation, and violence. It's this messy, dual reality we live in every single day.
Section 5. The Master Restoration. The Dynamic Journey of Hope.
The source material outlines that the Imago Dei isn't just a static concept. It's a very dynamic journey. Let's walk through this chronological macro-narrative together. It starts with step 1, original creation, which is the perfect blueprint. Then comes 2, the fall, where that image becomes deformed. But through the community of faith in step 3, there is a progressive restoration happening, an intentional process of turning back outward. This leads to 4, the perfect historical expression of the image, identified in the text as Jesus Christ. And finally, step 5, the ultimate goal, the final resurrection and perfection of human identity. It's a dynamic, forward-moving journey.
And zooming in on that historical expression for a moment, the source commentary notes that for the modern believer, the perfect historical expression of this image, the ultimate model of what a human being was originally designed to be, is found in Jesus Christ. He is described objectively in the text as the image of the invisible God. The entire journey of restoration is about being progressively transformed back into that original, unwarped likeness.
Which brings us to our final takeaway. We've looked at ancient kings, theological frameworks, and the grand narrative of restoration. But let's bring it right down to tomorrow morning. Look at this question. How would your day actually change if you treated everyone you met, the barista, your frustrating coworker, some random stranger in traffic, as a literal bearer of the divine image? If this radical democratization of human dignity is true, it changes absolutely everything about how we walk through the world. Take that thought with you today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.